and welcome to the Closing Bell. I'm Kelly Evans. A pretty rough day on Wall Street. Let's start with a look at how we're closing. The Dow Jones Industrial Average managing to stay just shy of a triple-digit loss today, down about 95 points. It's only about 0.6%. The Nasdaq only down by 0.2 at 40.37 or thereabouts as we watch how things settle out. The S&P 500, though, still below that 1,800 mark. It lost about 1/3% today. Let's get straight to it with today's Closing Bell panel. Kayla Tausche joins me, CNBC contributors Josh Brown and Dan Greenhouse, Andrew Stoltmann from Stoltmann Law Office. Okay, so this is an interesting question. It's kind of, are we back in that old markets are sinking, yields are falling together? Or is it the fact that, there's weakness on the prospect of higher interest rates going into 2014? Andrew Stoltmann, thoughts here?
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody really knows at this point, but I think this volatility in the last couple of days or so is a good reminder that there are still a lot of landmines in this market. There are still a lot of things that could sink this market, and I think it's a good reminder to retail investors and others that, look, there is still a potential real downside to this market because most of the good news has already been baked into the stock prices. So it's kind of scary to see what's going to happen here, but there's a lot of things that can still go wrong.
Andrew, hi, it's Dan. If I could ask you a quick question. When you say that a lot of the good news is baked into the market, how do you make that type of a determination?
Well, you take a look at the bullishness that's out there. You take a look at the small investor getting back into the market. You take a look at the fundamentals of the market. You see all this money coming into the market, and you hear very little on the downside potential risks that are clearly out there. And it just reminds me of the summer of 2007. It reminds me of early March of 2000, right before a big sell-off.
So you're saying we're on the cusp of a big sell-off? You're saying right now we're on the cusp of a big sell-off?
I think that the market says right now no, and I think that's really dangerous because I get really nervous when everybody is so bullish right now, and I think
I don't really see that everyone is so bullish right now. I got to take the other side of that. If you look at Wall Street sentiment, Merrill Lynch publishes a sentiment indicator that's been a pretty great contrarian indicator, and they're still showing Wall Street strategists are very far away from peak levels of bullishness. They're not even at their historic norms. On top of that, only 53% of Americans currently hold stocks, according to Gallup. That is a 15-year low. So I'm really not sure how we can say that everyone is piling into the market.
Now we've got some breaking news. Get this on the former CEO of Tyco, Dennis Kozlowski. Bertha Coombs joins us now with the details. Bertha.
That's right, Kelly. Come the new year, Dennis Kozlowski will be a free man after serving 8 1/3 years. That was the minimum to which he was sentenced. Today, the New York State Parole Board granted him parole, and he will be free effective January 17th. Kozlowski, you will recall, back in 2005, was convicted of having essentially cheated and taken money from the company. He and his former CFO, Mark Schwartz, both convicted. He paid $134 million in restitution. Mark Schwartz will also be freed on parole as of January 17th.
Serving 10 to 20 years in prison. Yet you have Dennis Kozlowski, you have Jeff Skilling of Enron getting off in less than 15 years, and with Mr. Kozlowski about 8 years. Simply the punishment, the jail sentence simply did not meet the crime, and he should still be serving time given the loss of shareholders sustained, given the amount of money that he looted from the company. I think it's just outrageous.
Welcome back. People are still buzzing about Amazon's plan for a drone delivery system. And now other companies like UPS coming out of the woodwork to say they've actually been investing in drone technology as well. Is this the beginning of drone war? Andrew,
and maybe
Andrew,
up to 100
is this
billion.
all happening? I mean, do you see any reason why we're not going to move towards a landscape that is dotted with drones?
Well, I mean, I think it's just a really bad idea. I mean, there are so many legal liability issues. There's so many safety issues. I mean, what's going to happen the first time when a drone crashes into somebody's home? What's going to happen the first time a drone crashes into a crashes into a school bus? There are also privacy concerns. I personally don't want commercial interests like Amazon flying over my house, seeing what sort of car I have in my driveway, what I have in my backyard, and then sending me email solicitations to buy some of this stuff. It's just
Andrew?
a ridiculous idea.
Andrew, what happens when a car drives into someone's house?
It's
Should
different.
we ban cars?
It's different because it's not a business operating that car for the simple reason that, hey, look, with Amazon.com, if you want anything, you can get it within 24 hours. A lot of the things you can download in seconds if you're talking about music or a book. There's no need to say people have to have this stuff within 30 minutes.
Go ahead,
Hey, Andrew. Andrew, if you think about this, you know, people, I'm in the state of North Carolina. When the Wright brothers were thinking about who's going to be first in flight with the airplanes out there, everyone was thinking they're crazy. Now, if you look what's happening with just that industry, okay, then you talk about what's going on with satellites. You don't think the FAA is going to have regulations that are going to protect us? Safety's first, and that's what all these startups are all about, is making sure that everyone's safe.
A couple of things to unpack in that, though, because there's the issue of kind of airspace safety, and then there's the issue of surveillance. And again, I understand that there are things happening on that front that we should know about anyway, Josh. I mean, if you think about what SpaceX is doing, part of the case for SpaceX is basically selling, you know, surveillance to hedge funds, for example.
So Amish, all of those applications that you mentioned, it's really exciting stuff, and I agree with you. This is definitely coming, but I agree with Andrew as well that I don't know if we're going to make that leap from things like wildlife rescue and mining safety into an uncontrolled environment with a lot of civilians, like a city or even a suburb. I think that we have to draw the line somewhere. I'm not sure if anyone wants their children walking beneath rotaries.